Have you ever turned on thinking mode when using Claude or ChatGPT and read what it prints when it creates what it's creating? Have you ever gone into Lovable, Replit, or Bolt, or whatever you're using to build your apps out, put in your prompt, and then read what the output is as it's thinking? There's a specific vernacular inside of that you can actually pick up and use to your benefit. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you a key that has helped me almost one-shot everything that I've been doing recently. And that key is specificity, but not in the way that you would imagine how it is. So for those that don't know, I'm Sheni. I'm founder of Icarus Growth. I help businesses alleviate operational bottlenecks by mapping out their workflows, seeing what they're doing manually, and then building systems, automations, and agents to alleviate all of that manual work. Most of the people that work with me, either one of two things happen. They either drastically increase in revenue or they drastically increase in headcount. One of the two, simply because they've gotten over their operational bottlenecks. So what do I mean by specificity here? Specificity, now we could go down and looking at the etymology of the word. I can't be bothered to do any of that. What I will say though is that specificity can be defined in two ways for the purposes of what we want. One, precision with wording. Two, inclusion of key material. So what do I mean by this? Well, there are certain tools that I will use as an example to illustrate what I mean by specificity. And those tools are these four in front of us here. So the first one here is the 5 pillars. Now, the 5 pillars of prompting is a prompting modality that I have used for a long time. And I've made a video about it, which you'll be able to check if you have a look over there. It's 5 specific headings. It's role, context, objective, format requirements, and output requirements. You can use one, some, or all of these, but the key to using these, especially when you're building stuff out, because right now a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is in Claude code or is even inside of just the random Claude project that I'm using. A lot of the times when you're building these out, if you only need the ones that you need, but the one that you need is where all of the detail is, it helps to have this as an understanding of what to place inside of your prompt and then delineate even further. So for example, let's say I'm building an ROI calculator, or I'm building some sort of something where there's some level of like mathematical implementation involved. Something a little bit like this. A cold email ROI calculator. I will have a role, a context, an objective, output requirements, and formatting requirements. I don't really need the context because the objective is all of the context, but 99% of the juice comes out of the output requirements. And the output requirements are not just what I've put here, where you can see that there is subheadings underneath output requirements for what the modifiable inputs are and for what the outputs are. The output requirements are also embedded in a lot of screenshots that I've taken that include all of the maths that built this entire dashboard in and of itself. So the 5 pillars of prompting in and of themselves are jump off points for things to use when you want to make your prompts more specific. It's a way for you to find more material that you can include. If you're making an app, the output requirements of this app would be what the app's meant to do, some of the workflows embedded in it, if there are webhooks involved in this app, understanding what the routing is for that, understanding how things are meant to move, etc., etc., etc. Formatting requirements would be user interfaces, it would be colors, it would be fonts, it would be typography, it would be wording, it would be the tone and the context of what's being written. Is it going to be explanatory? Is it learning? Is it formal? Is it informal? Is it conversational? All of those things. You can divide all of these up into what you need based on what the pillar is. So that's the first one. The second one, I'm going to skip ahead over if-then statements, and then I'm going to go to domain-specific terminology. Now, domain-specific terminology is really important because there are certain ways of talking which include words that carry more meaning than the word itself. The best example that I can give of this is with web design. When you are adding a prompt or you're creating a prompt and you want to specify how a page is meant to look, if you can specify very accurately that you want to use a specific type of CSS, or you want to use a specific modality when it comes to how the actual page is going to be built, saying tech stacks, saying the different libraries, or any of these things that are going to help you out are absolutely key to finding out exactly how things are meant to be built. For example, Recharts. This is a library built on React components, and all it is just a series of graphs that can be built with, and there's a ton of examples and there's a ton of different things that you can add here, which you can see line charts down the side, you can see area charts, you can see bar charts. These are all things that if you are prompting an AI to create an app for you and you want some charts and graphs and you want them to look a specific way, saying I want you to use the Recharts library to find a line graph or an area graph that is stacked to show the information that we are presenting on this page, you're going to get exactly what you want. You're going to have the exact look and feel that you want as well. That's one thing. The other thing is component libraries. Component libraries are essentially the exact same understanding of what you have here, but applied to different things that you would want for your page. So this here is Fly on UI. This is random. I haven't even looked at this before, but this is a UI component library, which means it's a way for you to have buttons, drop downs, all of these like motion graphics, all of these things that if you were to explain to the AI would take you forever to do. You can simply go in and just take a look at some of these items. You can take a look at particular wording, and from that wording, you can get domain specific terminology that will carry over more and more for what you want. So that's one of the other examples. Now, when we're coming into building things that have specific functionality, or creating items that are useful from like a coding perspective, if then statements. This is the third tool for specificity that I have here. Now, if then is very simple. It's just decision trees. It's just, okay, this is the thing. Did it work? Yes or no? Do this if it did, do this if it didn't. And this comes into what's called decision trees. Decision trees tend to be a very easy way to tell AI, especially when it comes to code, how to do what it needs to do. One of the biggest things that I've picked up from Claude Code recently is the use of something that they call hooks. Hooks are a way to basically guardrail anything that you make in Claude Code. And you can just prompt Claude Code to give you, oh, hey, we've just created this automation that's going to build landing pages for us. I need you to create a hook that's going to make sure that the padding isn't rubbish, or I need you to make sure that you don't include M dashes or anything that would look like AI from a particular set of requirements or deterministic rules that we have set in place. So for example, if there are sentences where between the start of a sentence and the end of a sentence, you see there's a particular word or phrasing for it where AI will sometimes sound like AI because of some of the sentences will say, it's not this, it's not this, it's this. Those kinds of comparisons, you can actually deterministically find, and you can create if then statements in your prompts that find these things and remove them from what's going on or from whatever code is being created. It's just a nice way to get everything to be in one specific spot for you, such that whenever you create an output, the output gives you exactly what you're looking for. So when it comes to specifically in this example, using things like Claude Code or using any element of you need to make a specific decision, if you can draw up or illustrate what happens in certain situations based on if this then that logic, you will normally get exactly what you want from your outputs as well. And that leads us to the final point, which is validation loops. Validation loops are very effective in acting out the if then statements that are occurring. Validation loops are what I've used in a number of times to basically generate a number of actions based on those guardrails that have been set up on those if then statements. And they come in really handy, especially when you're using things like those Claude hooks. And I wanted to show you that based on something that I've just copy and pasted or screenshot from my own Claude instance. So I'm building out an Airtable skill, which just creates bases and creates tables and fields for me. And in the creation of this, I needed a hook to make sure that something that I saw, which was a problem, could be fixed. So this is what I mean by the if then statement. I'm going to show you what the validation loop ends up becoming. So all I said was, can we store the renames as a Claude hook? So basically what it needed to do was inside of the base, this base over here, which you can now see, this was all created using Claude Code. Inside of this table, which has clients, you can see that there are some linked records here. One called projects, one called invoices, one called content management. This is for a, UGC ad creative agency template. Now, the problem that I have is that when referencing these, especially when I'm using this in make automations or whatever it may be, the problems that I run into when playing around with certain Airtable fields is that if the name is the exact same, I don't know what it's used for. Is this a linked project for a pod? Is this a linked XYZ? Is this a linked ABC? And sometimes when on this side, you may end up seeing or when you're on the other side or the other synced table, you may end up seeing just the same field multiple times with a bunch of different numbers. So what I ended up doing was prompting Claude Code to basically fix that for me. So I just asked it to fix it. And then when it did the fixes, I asked it to store the renames as a Claude hook, where we can check each table once this base builder.py, which is the Python script, runs, such that if on any table the name of a field equals the name of an existing table or said name plus a number, e.g. projects 2, projects 3, we throw up a warning to rename those based on their purpose from the initial prompts. What that ended up doing was it created a very easy system, which you can see right here. So what the output is this. After every create base, create table, and create field call, the builder is going to scan all linked record fields and create reverse link warnings in the result if any field matches a table name. So what it's done is it's basically taken a very deterministic approach. It's created its own if-then logic, which it will run every single time I use this item inside of my skills, and it will just check everything that needs to be checked. Now, where that was helpful is that it actually found that there were some renames that needed to be done. So you can see here, pods, clients using this pod, projects using this pod, so on and so forth. So it found 11 of them. However, it didn't make any changes. And this is where validation loops come into play. You need to actively tell the AI that it needs to verify and then make changes. Because if you tell it to verify, it will create a warning and then it will just tell you that these are the warnings that it found. But if you tell it to create a self-healing loop that validates itself and will only leave the loop when those warnings stop, the thing will just run until the outputs are exactly how you want it to be. And it really does stop a lot of the nonsense that can occur from happening. And the way that it looked was this. The output of this JSON should be automatically sent to a sub-agent to make the requisite changes so that we can create a self-verifying loop that won't exit until no warnings are passed. You have to be explicit about the stuff that you want, and this is just the example right here. So to summarize on everything that we've spoken about, the main thing to understand when it comes to getting really good outputs that you can basically just one-shot every single time is specificity. And there are 4 tools that come under specificity. The first one is using the 5 pillars. Now, 5 pillars is mine, and I just said I make this because this is easy enough for me to remember. If there is a version of this for you that is easy to remember, then that's perfect. All you need to do is just split your prompt into its constituent parts and then flesh out the parts so that you know that you have enough stuff. Number 2, if-then statements. When there is some logic that needs to be embedded, you need to make sure that the decision trees have been drawn up in your head and then prompted to the AI. 3, domain specific terminology. Use and take leverage of all of the things that are around you in your vicinity, whether it be different repos on GitHub, the actual naming conventions of things that you don't know because you don't know the terminology, or open source projects and libraries, to get extra information that you wouldn't get had you not had this information in your head already. And then validation loops. Take your if then statements, take the code and the verifications and the hooks that you've created, and make sure that you create an agent that will be a self-verifying loop so that you can maintain quality for all of the outputs that you want. And that's basically it. That alone will get you to be able to make a ton of stuff. And if you didn't already know how to make it, you can search up exactly how to make it, just like that. So if you're looking for any more information on how to do certain builds, take a look here. If you are a business owner who is looking to increase their ability to take on more clients and just get out of the weeds when it comes to the bottlenecks that are currently being noticed about in the business, just take a look at the link in the description. There's going to be something there to help you out. You can probably book a call with me, or you can take a look at some of the free tools that I have below as well. So see you on the next one.